Hi again everyone, welcome to part 7 of the German Panzer IV medium tank build with Ted here at eModels, and I hope you like the new credits on the video, by the way. Anyway, what we're going to do in this video, in this part 7, is move on from the base, which is all finished now. We've got all the radiator fit in the back. All the final bits and pieces are done in the bottom of the hull, and now we're going to move on and work our way upwards. We're going to probably, hopefully, I think by the end of this video, get this top part of the hull on, get some of the detail done on the back deck, look at the front part of it, not the frontal armour, but the front armour. That'll go on in there. I've already taken the time and I've made this. It comes in 2 sections. It's easy enough to build. There's a little gimbal in here for the machine gun and a little viewing slot for the driver. For some reason this consists of a small box type construction, and there's a lens on the inside but none on the outside, but that's the way the model is. I suppose if you wanted to, you could adapt it, open up the front and put a lens through there so it can actually be seen through, but no matter. The gimbal takes a machine gun, which I've already prepared. It's quite easy to go together. Come and have a look at it. Let's get back into focus. There we are. Come on, into focus. Let's move this out of the way, it might focus a bit better. There it is. There, it comes in 10 parts, easy enough to paint. What I did with this is sprayed it with a metallic coat, a gunmetal metallic. Then I did some hairspray chipping on it, not too much, because I think the guys that use these weapons try to keep them fairly in good condition and clean, so they'll be looking after it. Goes together fairly well, fairly easily, and it fits into this gimbal in the front piece of the armour that goes in like that. Now whether I'll put this in right now or not, or wait till it's finished, because obviously when we spray the front, I don't really want to get any spray over the machine gun barrel, but I'll think about that anyway. Another thing I did notice is that because of the weight of the machine gun, let's bring it back down so you can see it, when we get the weight of the machine gun in the gimbal, it will always look like that. So it's nice. Yeah, it would be nice to have it moving, be nice to be able to move it, but you don't really want to play with these sort of things. They're not really toys, they're a nice model. I may just give it a touch of glue just in the back, just to hold it in a straight position. There may be a way, when you come, if you come to build your gimbal in the front of the armour, is to maybe try and get it a little bit tighter in the fitting, and see if that solves the problem. But this is quite loose. Anyway, that'll go in the front like that. Dead easy to do. That'll go in there. And then we'll move on to the next stage. So I'll go and get my instructions out, look at the pieces of sprue, the bits and pieces that we need, and for the first time in this program, see you in a moment. Okay, welcome back. Not a very good start. While setting up for this next scene, I knocked over a very fine full glass of nice ice cold beer. So the workshop now smells like a brewery. Never mind, let's carry on. We're going to look at the next part. We're going to look at putting some things into the back deck. What we're going to look at is putting some of the extractor fans in. Not the extractor fans, I think there'll be more an intake fan for cooling the engine, I would have thought. Now I've prepared these rather than you hanging around while I did prepare them. I've done them first. Come in and have a look. What you'll see here is a couple of fan mountings and the cowlings. What I would suggest is that you paint them first, because the nature of them and the shape and when it goes together, if you don't get in and paint them first, either by spray or brush, you're going to have a lot of bare plastic staring at you that you just won't be able to get through and paint either with a brush or a spray gun. Simple enough to go together. As for the colours, I've decided to paint them black. Once again, in the instructions there's no colour call outs, so it's just a bit of guesswork, and from looking around at photographs that I've seen on the internet and such, I think black is the way to go for the fan, and the rest of it would seem to follow the same colours as the rest of the engine compartment, so we'll make them all blend together, and I've painted them in the off-white colour. Just a simple process of putting them together. I initially thought they went the other way around, but looking at them and examining things closely, it's just a matter of gluing them together. I don't really need to paint these bits, the centre bits, because these won't be seen at all. Really is getting low on this glue now. I'll have to shake the bottle to make it reach the glue, the brush. So that one goes in there, and then the fan itself just sits on top of it. So we can touch a glue on that. And they will go in like that. These then each fit into this mount. There's a little locating tag on the top, just in here. A little locating tag just in there, which corresponds with that one in there. And as it has been right the way through the build, very simple just to click it into place. As we've said before, if it doesn't fit, or you're struggling to get it to fit, it's probably in the wrong place or the wrong way around. Just a touch of glue and let in the action of the glue take round and into the joints. Right, we'll put that to the side. And the next part we're going to look at is the ventilation door, I suppose. In the last video we did talk about the hinges on the front of the wagon, and hinging the doors to the radio operator and the driver's compartment. The same applies to the back as well, and I think the best way to get around solving it is to actually not work on the hinges or glue them at all. Just leave the whole package, the whole panel, removable, so it will sit in place, and then when you want to have an examination of the engine compartment, is just remove it completely. Now there's two parts to this, the door that go on here, and they make the sort of vent that goes in there like that. Now then, once again, I think a little bit of pre-painting is called for in this part, and what I've done on the inside of here is actually painted it with the base colour, the Dunkelgelb for Ausf 44DG3, as in the call out for the main body of the tank. I've done it that way because I'm thinking that once it goes together like that, once again it's going to be difficult to get any spray in there, or an even spray, or get your paintbrush in just to paint it all out, and then you'll either have bare plastic or maybe an undercoat or something like that. It's got a black undercoat on. You can actually, I did look at it and think you can actually leave it black if you wanted to, because it would be dark, but I've gone and give it a coat of the base coat. So we can glue that one on as well. Obviously, once again, painting the inside of the door with the off-white, and getting it all ready to match the interior of the hull. So we'll let that glue and go hard for a little bit. Then this bit will just all sit in there. Right, what I've done then, we're still waiting for this little bit to go off, but we'll put it in position anyway. What you need to construct then is the connecting rods and the motors to drive the fans. These are just a few pieces that come off the sprue, and make some little engine boxes, motor boxes that go on here somehow. Now I've painted, once again, there's no colour call-outs for them, but I painted them as sort of a chromate type green. No idea what colour they are, no idea whether it was right. I think it could have even been blue as well. I would probably think it would be more of a metallic blue from my days of fixing motors and such in my electrical days. But they'll go in there, click together with that connecting rod. Can you see this? That'll click in there with the connecting rod, it'll go in there, and that'll go in there. And then there's another short con rod to go in there as well. Now I just think the chromate, I could have painted them black, but then it'll just been dull and boring, but I thought a bit of a chromate green effect would just bring a bit of colour into the surroundings. And then it all sits in there, all glues together, and then without it falling out, a bit's falling out there, it will just sit in there like that. I'm just holding the bottom in. Right, next bit is the rear armour. This is just a simple 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. It does ask on the instructions that on the back is a series of holes that need drilling out. There's 4 for each. They are to carry, if I can find them, they are to carry 3 sets of track links, which clip in here the right way around. Anyway, they do go in there. But once again, as we've mentioned with the rest of the tools on the rest of the machine, is that I'm going to leave them off until we've finished it all, painted it, and then there it goes in there like that, promise. Yeah, I'm going to leave them off until we've painted it, and then add them and then go over the whole thing with the camouflage. These track links, there's a number of options you could do. You could fit them all 3. You could fit all 3, or you could fit 1 or 2 and leave the brackets, just put the brackets on, just put empty brackets on as though the crew have actually used some of the track links. It's just an option. Also, what I've noticed on the back of here is that if we are going to open these doors, when this panel goes onto here, it'll be quite visible through there. So looking on the back, this is about the only part that I've found that has such significant ejector pin marks. So I've had to colour the fill these in, and then once that's inside, we'll blend it all together Once that's on there, we'll blend it all together with a coat of paint to match the rest of the engine compartment. Anyway, that's that bit done. The only other thing for this section is the Tor cables. The kit provides quite a length of Tor cable, and the instructions say that you need 300 mils of it, which leaves you quite a bit more, probably about over half to play with. So we could, and there is an option of towing eyes, cables to fit on the end. The cables and the towing eyes themselves are hollow, so your cable slips in there and glues in, and it gives you a number of options. It doesn't actually tell you which one, so you can take 1 to 5. I think we'll go with the middle ones, and then that would leave you some cable to play with and some ends to decide with and add to the tank at will. Anyway, that's that section done. That takes us on to the next bit now, of adding 1 or 2 little bits and pieces, adding the front of the armour, and then it's I flip it all over and we're looking at some photo etch parts for carrying the radios and things. So right, I'll try not to drop my drink this time, and I'll go and prepare for the next scene, so see you in a moment. And well then, here we are, a little bit of photo etch. There's quite a bit of photo etch in this kit. I think there's, just trying to find all the bits of it. We've already done a few little bits, such as the end caps for the shells and such on there, and there's quite a few of the sheets of it. There's lots to do. There's another one. This is the one we're using at the moment. This is sheet B. We're going to look at preparing some of the framework for the radio that go inside the top of the lower. It goes in there. It goes in the underside of the lower armour. Because there's so much of it, I decided that I would invest in a tool bender, a photo etch bender. This is a 4-inch one. It's quite versatile. There's a number of varying sizes to allow you to bend round, and just whizzing off these bits here. If, like in some of the cases on this model, some of the bits are a little bit too big, you can actually turn it round and use the back to bend on. Still, we'll have a little introduction to this. We'll bend a couple of pieces, we'll have a talk about it. Doesn't take long to do. Now this comes with a couple of tools to assist you to do the bending, which is a couple of small wedges. They're alright, yeah, they're fairly sharp, good enough to get underneath your photo etch, because you want to clamp it down and then bend it in the right angles, or the right angle that you require. However, what I know that some of you that already have these, some of you use a single edge razor blade, which I don't have. However, I do use an X-Acto blade, chisel blade. That seems to fit my needs. This is a bit of a progression from what I used to use, and some of you will probably find, and you use them quite happily, is a set of flat nose pliers. These are not purpose made photo etch bending pliers. These are just the remnants of my toolbox from my electrical days, and that's what I use and had used quite happily. You'll also need a small file just clearing the burrs off any cuts that you make in the photo etch, cutting off the fret. And rather than using your good old cutting knife, your crafting knife for your models, I again switch over to a smaller X-Acto knife for cutting off the frets. And how I go about cutting off the frets is doing it like this. I have obtained from a local conservatory building firm a couple of samples of acrylic and polystyrene windows, the glazing that they use in the windows. If you know of any sign writing firms or something like that, they'll probably have a stock or even a bin full of scrap offcuts. All you need is a couple of little squares. A few squares will do you forever. And the way to do it, I actually, when I'm cutting the frets off, the parts off the fret, you will find that when they come out of the box, especially in this kit, they're covered on both sides with some polythene, some sticky back polythene. Now I actually leave that on while I'm cutting it off, otherwise it'll be away over the workshop. Just simply put it on your polystyrene or your acrylic, press another piece of acrylic on the top of it, and just using the X-Acto knife is just cut off where it's attached to the fret. Going right round, pressing it down, you can get pressing the top piece of acrylic right down on it, you can keep it flat, get right up to the edge, and you probably wouldn't even need to do any filing of any rough edges because you'll cut it really close. Take your time on it. It is quite fragile, this stuff. If you've never worked with it before and you're considering getting this kit, it'll be quite an introduction, because by the time you're finished you'll be an expert at it. There's so much of it to do. So they continue right round, nearly done. And then when that's done, just find your cutting mat and cut along the rest of the plastic backing. Now what I do is, when I cut it out, until I'm ready to use it or bend it, I'll actually leave the plastic on, because we're going to use super glue, or the the ideal method of fixing this stuff is with super glue, and the less you handle the photo etch, the better. So leave the plastic on until you're ready to use it. That's pulling that off, never mind. Oh, it's coming off the fret, so it won't harm. Right, and there we have that cut to size, so we'll just leave that bit on there until we're ready. Right, let's have a go at cutting this. Now you've got to sit and think about, it's one of them puzzles, it's like one of them puzzles you get at school. You've got to sit and think about how you're going to bend this to get it in to your bender. Oh, can you see? Yeah, I think you're alright. Let's come in a little bit more. How's that? Right, we're back into focus. Right, now then, there's a couple of ways you can bend on the edge. Where's the little pointy stick? You can bend on the edges of the tool, or you can bend on the front, and these are to clamp everything down. So what we'll do first, we'll do a big bend. We'll turn this one round, show you how it works. just trying to concentrate here just to line it up. You just line it up with the bend, with the indentation in the photo etch. Bend it down like that. And taking your blade or your, I don't know if you can see what's going on. And just working along. Obviously the bigger the bending appliance you have, the better. Until it's at a right angle. Now the first parts of these frets, these brackets for the radios, the photo etch parts themselves have varying thicknesses. It sort of disappeared off the out of view, so you can see it now. Let's take it back out. There. Bit wobbly, but there we go. There's the first bend of the photo etch. It's now a matter of working around. We'll turn it back round. It's quite a versatile tool. It's quite heavy, made out of aluminium. It's machined, so it should give you quite good bends. Right, we'll find the next one, which is there. Now I could, if I wanted, just pull that up, but to give it some support, that's the first one. And then have I worked this out right? Now then, the next one wants to go in there. So it's like one of the puzzles at school. You have to work out the easiest way to do this, or the most efficient way of doing it, perhaps. And a bend again. Part way there. And finally, using the edge of the small one, clamped it down enough. There we go. There we go. And with some final adjustments, let's try and keep it in focus. There's some final adjustments in there. We should have the first part of our radio framework. There. And so some of the thicknesses in this are along here. They do become very thin. So the best way to work with this would be not to try and glue it all at once. Let's just get some super glue in. Something to work with. Rather than applying your super glue directly, is just put a spot on. It's gummed up. Just put a spot of glue on a palette, and work from there. I'd use cocktail stick method. Just either taping or holding in place some super glue, the part that you need to glue. Just put a dot on, let it work. Now, super glue is often, or you'll find other people discussing, can be a hit or miss. Sorry, I don't know if you saw any of that. What I'm doing is just applying a dot of super glue with the end of the cocktail stick and just allowing it to fit or to slide itself into the joint. Now then, if you find it's not going off quick enough, you can get a little bit of fast adhesive, which is, well, another word for it is kicker. You just spray it on, that's all you need, and it should send the super glue off almost immediately. Useful stuff. So work your way around this framework, which is very delicate. And the next piece we'll put on the other corner. Let's do it again for you. Drop a super glue, cocktail stick, just touch it on the end. What we need was sort of like for those welders or car mechanics out there, it's just a bit like spot welding. We'll spot weld it all first, and then we'll go along and pick up on the pieces where it needs further fixing. Just one more in that corner. There we go. Let's find a pair of tweezers so we can show you. There we are. There's our first little bit of photo etch for the radios. You see that? Well then, there's quite a few more bits and pieces to do with this, and also we've got to think about how we're going to paint it and when we're going to paint it. It's always been like that right through this. Where's the radios? Got them in here somewhere. There's 3 radio sets. As I understand, there'll be 2 for transmitting and 1 for receiving. These are painted in, it says in the instructions to paint them in medium gunship grey, which is the same grey, it gives the same colour code for the gearbox and the transmission. But looking on Google, you'll be able to see that there's a load of variations for the colours of these. I'm going to pick something just a slightly bit different, just to give it that variation in a colour scheme, and we'll get them in there. And the framework will be painted in the same off-white colour that we did the rest of the interior of the tank. And on that note, painting photo etch, what I'll do first is give it a coat of metal primer. It's just like a bit of an etch, just to allow any paint that you do apply, just to allow it to grab to the photo etch itself. Anyway, there's quite a bit to do, there's quite a bit of folding to do, so I'll go off and get this done and come back when we're ready for the next bit. Alright, See you in a moment. Hi there, welcome back. What we've done is we've gone and built the radio system, put all the very tiny decals on, all these in here. What I did first was give it a coat of clear, obviously, so it'll help the decals to go on and move about a little bit. Come on, have a look. We'll see. There we go. There's some tiny decals to go in here. It's a little bit confusing actually when you're building this and putting it all together, because in the instructions, when it comes back into focus, in the instructions it actually shows you building it upside down, because it hangs from the roof of the fighting compartment. It all becomes apparent what's happening is when it all goes together, and you can see it all, how it does it as such. But it is quite confusing to follow. You know, you're thinking, well, does that go over there? You need to get the radios the right way around, and also bearing in mind that when you're putting it together, the photo etch is quite tight. You need to make sure that everything is lined up, otherwise the radios don't fit in. It busts your joints apart with the super glue, and makes things a little bit more frustrating, but it's all got together in the end. I've decided that I would paint mine this time in a German grey, the Vaiello German grey. It just gives it that little bit of a different colour to the colour that it told us about, the medium gunship grey, which would have ended up the same colour as the transmission. And this is just to give it a little bit more variation within the fighting compartment and the colours and such, which is fairly bland anyway. Not that we're brightening it up, it just makes it a little bit more pleasing to the eye. But that's got to go in next, so we'll put that to one side. Also, what I've done, I'll zoom back out so you can see what's happening on this whole top. I've just put some of the vents in the sides. These have gone in. I've given them a coat of the paint, the off-white paint, to match the rest of the inside of the tank, and then weathered it up, just so it all matches. I'm making sure that all the parts that we're going to see when the covers are off sort of match up. I've done the same with the front as well. If you could see in there how it's all been weathered for the parts that you can see. So right, what we're going to do now is really fit the last piece of sub-assembly into the upper part of the tank, which is the radio system. Now, if you remember, everything seems to be working upside down. We are fitting it for the radio operator to use, so that's his hatch there. And it will really only go in one way. Is that right? Is that the way around? Yep, there it goes. It sits in there in two indentations in there, like that. Now then, you can add, if you wanted to, there's enough detail, there's enough size in this model to add lots of detail to it. For this case, I'm going to use some of this. You can add lots of detail, add extra wires and such like that, particularly around the radio set if you wanted to. I had considered trying to put some wiring from the headset, which is just on here, into the radios themselves, but then I thought I'd just leave them hanging, otherwise we'll be here forever adding bags of detail and not getting it built. So that will sit in there like that. Now, you may remember in the last piece when we built the machine gun, I was talking about whether or not I could fit the machine gun through the hatch to go into the gimbal, because I've finally fixed that in place. I just put a touch of glue on it and it's held it, so it's not going to be dropping down all the time. And other than that, that's about all the work we're going to need to do in the top of this hull. So I'm going to put that radio set and the top to one side. This has just been a little bit of a short scene just to show you how it's all coming together. Right, let's put that to the side, otherwise it'll fall apart because we'll mess with it. I've gone and built the rest of the hatches. I've still got to give them a little coat of paint, but these are not going to be fixed. I think I've made the final decision that they're not going to be fixed in the tank through the hinges. They're just going to sit on the top and just make them removable so we can see in. There's the radio operator's hatch now and the driver's hatch. No, it's not. That's the other way around. That's it. So these will just, instead of opening and closing on hinges, are just all going to sit in there. So, right, I'll take 5 minutes. I'll go make a cup of tea, let that glue go off, and then we'll come back, and I think we'll close up the hull with the top of it. So let's have one last look around. Just checking that we've got everything in here. I've still got the ammunition to put in, but that can go in. There's enough room in the tank because the turret isn't fixed. We can take the turret out and we can still drop the ammunition in to the bins. I don't know if that, it looks quite good as it is with some of the ammunition gone, so I might not put it all in. I might just put some in for effect, but that's it. Once the top goes on, we'll lose a little bit of access to this detail, but you and I, if you followed the videos, we know it's all there. Right, I think the kettle's just clicked off, so I'll go and pour some hot water onto a tea bag, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Bye. Alright then, that was a very refreshing cup of tea. Anyway, what we're going to do now, we're going to put the top of the lower hull together and close all this up. One thing I did find, which is worth pointing out whilst I was having my brew, and just letting this glue go off, hadn't quite gone off fortunately. I did a test fit of the hull top onto the hull bottom, and I found that the radio set was actually fouling on the on this exhaust pipe here, pushing it off. Fortunately the glue hadn't gone off, so what I did, I've repositioned it. I've just moved it maybe 5mm over. I can't see any reason why it fouls it. Everything seems to have gone together in the right place. There are indentations in the hull top so you can fit the radio sets into, and I can't see any reasoning for it. So it's maybe just one of those things. It's probably worth checking that you've got everything sorted yourself. If you're going to build this, check everything you've got sorted yourself, and then just readjust the positions of the radios if you need to. It's only a minor touch. It doesn't put the radios out of any particular or into any particular unusual position. It just moves them round a little bit. Maybe it's a bit of an error. I can't see any reason why, as I say, I can't see any reason why I've not lined anything up. However, we'll move on. As I've noted, the top is a bit of a tight fit. It will need a little bit of tweaking just to get it, make sure you've got it in the right position. And the way it fits is there is a rail just along here that matches a groove in the whole top that goes right down the side, and then there's some locating pins in the back to go on the rear, and the front armour, the frontal armour, sits just on the front in here. So right, one last look inside, check all that cracking detail, and we'll put the top on. Here goes. A moment in your model building history as you try to get everything lined up. A good idea to get the positioning is to use that exhaust pipe to line up in this little hole here to make sure you've got the top far enough forward, and it will clip. You'll hear it click. You may need to get your fingers just inside just to force the edges out a little bit, and you'll know when you're getting there because the gap in here along the front is going to disappear. Another thing to check that you've got it all lined up is to take the radiator fan, the fan door, and slip that into the back. Just to see that these fans are once again not fouling on this pipe in here. Just there. Get the rear of the armour in. You should hear it click. And I think we're about getting there. So I think the best way to do with this is to glue it in stages, because it's a large piece of plastic and we want to do it a little bit at a time just to make sure that, there we go, that's down at the front now. We want to make sure that it's all down and seated well before we move on to the next stage. So what we'll do here is apply some liquid glue just in the front. There we go, down. I'm going to just hold it a little bit till the glue goes off, just a touch to hold it down, and then I will be working my way along the sides and clamping where necessary, just in here, just to hold it down. You'll hear it click as it goes in, and you'll know you've got it located. So that is the beginnings of the end of the bottom of the tank. Right, I'll go and let this, once again, there's no use sitting watching the glue dry. It's just as interesting as watching paint dry. So I'll go sort this out and we'll have a look at it all together. I'll put the wheels and tracks back on and we'll have a look at it for one last time before the end of the video. Just taking that one out, and that'll be done. So see you in a moment. Well, here we are, the top's gone on, and that is, apart from the fixtures and fittings, that's really the lower part of the hull done. Got together quite well. Nothing remarkable to worry about, but it's starting to look fantastic. And just over the weekend, while I was waiting for one or two other things to do, I thought I'd make a little comparison to this. And if you just see the top of it in there, there's a little sort of perspective on scale. This here is your 1/72nd scale Airfix Mark IV Panzer tank. You can see how big this beast is going to be compared to that. So we can move on, we can progress, because we've got to the end of this video. We've got to the end of part 7. And you can keep up with us. You can see how the next build's going on until the release of the next video by visiting Skipper's Scale Models on Facebook, if you have access to Facebook. You can also visit eModels on Facebook as well. They have a Facebook page, or emodels.co.uk. Visit the website. But for the next time, we'll be moving further up, and we'll be looking at making a start on the turret and such. So that's the end of this video. That's the end of part 7, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. So thank you for looking in. Have a look at the end credits, see if they're any good, see if there is we've got a new start on the beginning of this video, and we'll see about putting some end credits as well. So stick around, have a look at them, and it's me, Ted at eModels, and I'll see you all again next time. Okay then, bye now.